Welcome to the XRAY Podcast. I'm Julio with my co-host Robert
Robert.
Barbosa. Brother, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. It's a very muggy, rainy day, but
I know.
we're getting the best out of it.
Oh man,
I
Houston weather. You know
I I tell you what though, I learned something very valuable today.
what you have
I
learned.
I tried to put my own window tint and that didn't go well. I'm paying somebody to do that tomorrow.
Damn.
It
Which
was
part? The
terrible.
the truck or
The
your
truck. Yep, the
truck?
truck.
You try
Yeah,
to
it
do the
was.
windows, like the doors, or the front?
Yeah, just the front driver and the passenger side, because from dealership it has tint all the way around except for the driver and the passenger side,
Yeah.
and it's just two windows. And dude, I messed up like two sheets on the same window, and then I was trying to be like, it's okay. I'm gonna let it have a little bit of bubbles, I'll
hmm
get through it. But then my wife came out there and she's like, "It looks bad. It looks really bad." So I was like, ripped it
yeah.
off.
Yeah. If the person who loves you tells you it is bad, it's bad.
It's bad, yeah.
It's that bad. Well, today's conversation is about the conflict between Israel and Palestine. So I'm trying to get more understanding because this conflict is been wow since hundreds of years, I mean thousands of years. Then in recent years, it started around 1948 or
Yep,
47. That's when Palestine was founded, and there was a lot of stuff going on, and Palestine got pushed to a corner, Israel to the other corner, and they were like neighboring countries, but separated by the Gaza Strip or whatever you want to call it. And but today it is we'll be joined by Kawa Mawlayee. He's a U.S. Army Special Forces, the only Afghan American in the Special Forces today. So he will be joining us in a little while. So please grab your drink or your soda or your water or your tea and enjoy the podcast today. It's going to be short and sweet, around 45 to 55 minutes. So let's talk about this conflict, man. Robert,
well,
give me your opinion on it because I know a little bit, but this new age of social media and the news kind of like it give you a misrepresentation of what's really going on. And can you give me your take on it?
from my understanding, and I guess we got to go straight from the source, because a lot of these, some people call them freedom fighters, some people call them terrorists, and we kind of have a form of definition through ChatGPT as we were conducting these, th- you know the little bit of research that we've conducted. But basically, we have this understanding that we need to get to the source. So we all know about the Old Testament, the New Testament of the Bible. Some of y'all have heard of it, some of y'all haven't, and have heard that Israel, the Israelites, as it was known, right, back in the day, um they were given this land which used to be Canaan. um God had ordered the Israelites, remember, after Moses took them, let my people go in Egypt. They went 40 years in around circling in the desert, until God weeded out the generation. And Moses didn't get to see the promised land. That's where that word came, the man from the promised land, right? And going back to that, then Israel was established. They took over Canaan, and it became as Israel as we know today. In fact, some parts of Syria was Israel at that time. And what we know where the Gaza Strip is now, it used to be Philistia, which were the Philistines. And anyways, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, came. The Romans at that time were the government that was overseeing the whole Middle Eastern. I mean, they were an empire that took over, and a lot. There was a lot of more empires. I'm just giving it a summary. Well, the Empire of Rome had ties of certain northern Africa and the continent of Africa, some countries up there, and Middle East, and you know, right around 135 AD, after the death of Christ. I'm sorry, or CE as they say now. That is when I believe he was like a governor at the time, but they
Hmm.
had a different name. I'm trying to get his name correctly so I don't massacre this, but anyways, he displaced the Israels there, as we call them Jews now, right? That's the nickname that we call their religion, not the people, right? That's just the religion. It's like if you call an Afghanistan a Muslim, it's not a country, it's just a religion, and Jews are basically a religion, but the Israelites, right, so to speak, were majority all Jewish. So they believe in the followings of Judaism. So basically, they got expelled from the Roman Empire. Then Rome fell, and when Rome fell, well, all these right around this time, there was also a guy named Muhammad that started uh, a religion called Islam, which we know as what we call Muslims, and they basically took over Israel and call it Palestine or Palestinia, or I hope I get it correctly. But then this is somewhere between 140 50 AD. So we're talking about, you know, years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now 2000 years later, but in 1948, uh there was this the it was from then, it was every just like they were when God had the Jewish people, or the Israelites in Egypt, and they're called Israelites because their forefather, the son of Abraham, Isaac had a son named Jacob, and God changed his name to Israel, right? And they basically named their tribes out of the sons of Jacob, which was Israel now, and that's how they got their different 12 tribes, and
Oh.
but so they got displaced in 1948. We all know what happened around that year, um so World War II, and all that stuff. And you had this book author named Mark Twain, the guy that wrote Huckleberry Finn, To Kill a Mockingbird, and whatnot. And he made it his goal to go out there to where, again, that's why you have maps that is called Palestine, right? The country was on the maps around this whole time because it was territory from, I want to say, Syria or Saudi Arabia. It was one of those Middle Eastern countries that took over it, and they gave it the title Palestine, yeah. And then, so then, from what I hear, there's documents, pictures, because there's, those black and white. I mean, it was expensive back in the day to go take video. And this guy, Mark Twain, he didn't have an agenda. He just was Christian, and he wanted to see Israel and how it was. And there's videos like, and I'm sure you just gotta dig through it, but there's like those no audio kind of videos, or the black and white, and you could see that it was deserted. It was a desert, it was desolate, there was nothing there. Hence why we were starting the UN nation, right? United Nations. And we've had to help the Israelites, the Jews. And so we gave them back to their country. Now, that's my understanding so far, right? And then I hear that basically uh, the people that there were still some people there, obviously, and it was a very not it wasn't a lot enough to even call it a country, but it was a country nonetheless, right? So there was people there, and they have accepted these, I guess, Jewish people, and little by little, Israel became what Israel is now, and the Jews and the whole world basically gave it to Israel, or to Jews, and that's why we called it Israel now. But no one actually made it or declare it until Donald Trump. Every president prior Donald Trump promised Israel that they would see Israel as a country and call it and recognize it as Israel. But again, some of after Israel became, I guess in the late 70s, it became like, I mean, what it is now, and it's a beautiful city, and one day I wish I could go see it, right? But um now they want to claim, hey, this was my country, this is this and that. And so, I mean, it's it's crazy, right? I mean, you hear about colonialism and stuff like that, but I mean, that stuff happened back in the day, and it still happens now. I mean, look at Russia with Ukraine, right?
Yeah,
And those are realities that can happen even to us if we're not careful. That's why I invite those left-winging loonies, as I say, to get into America first politics, because we can fall just like Rome fell, just like Palestine fell, just like, and honestly, we're not you know just because we're big right now, we could fall anytime. And while we're fighting within ourselves and there's evil people around the world, we can be subject to that same failure. And I guess, back to this whole point, which I would love to get more clarity from our guest, is, what actually is the difference between a freedom fighter and a terrorist? Because, that right there will actually highlight a lot of the things that some of us seem to be in agreement, and why we see them as terrorists and not freedom fighters. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, absolutely. We had a conversation with JJ. Remember that about a
Yeah,
couple of days ago? Like, what if the uh, the roles were reversed and we were the one getting bumped every other day and getting attacked? What would do we do as a man? And obviously, we're gonna fight for our country. You know what I mean?
correct.
Defend our like our territory. So that is a good point. So what is the difference? It is a thin line, and I think it's all about also perception. You know what I mean? Like how people perceive this group of people compared to the other, or vice versa. And they play that a lot. And I remember it was a couple years ago, a couple decades. Remember the theory, the conspiracy theory, which is proof right. It was proof true that the CIA kind of, I would not say invaded, but took over the news media, Project Mockingbird. And then, remember that? And they
Yeah,
try to change the perception of the people and how they digest the news and how they basically is propaganda would be fed through this airwave and change your perception. The same thing happened in. I was talking to one of my guests in Puerto Rico, and he was telling me that Israel do a lot of meddling, and they're also infiltrating in the U.S. politics to manipulate the perception, manipulate the laws, manipulate the money, power to leverage against their enemies. And that is happening. It's coming out true. I had a video here. Hopefully, I'll be able to play it without the feedback. Uh, I will share the screen with you right now. And that video was taken in 1980, and you will recognize the face on the video. Let me show it to you right now. Hopefully, we'll be able to play it because sometimes we have horrible feedback like now. Well, we have issues with it, like I said, but it is basically,
Isn't
bit,
that the video where BB is
yeah,
talking about, oh, I can get anything to United States to do anything we wanted to do or something like that, right?
yep, that's
And
the same video. Let me, we have our guest here, Kawa Mawlayee. Uh, I will bring him to the show right now. Bring him to the floor.
I was going, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
yes,
sir.
sir.
Kawa, how
How's
you
it
doing,
going?
brother?
Good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. Sorry, I'm a little late. I was
No,
having
you're
some
good.
technical difficulties with the camera.
Yeah, yeah. We had the same. We had the
We
same
have the
problem here.
same thing. Yep.
I think
We've
it's
been
freezing on me even now. Is it freeze? Did it just freeze?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
just froze.
Oh, great.
yeah.
But
We
Yeah,
had.
I'm not quite
at
sure.
least your audio is good because man, some what we were getting was feedback, and it's like, man, you couldn't even talk because it
Yeah,
was like three
I
seconds delay.
I know. We had that issue early today. We had to come in early, like super early to fix this issue. While
Yeah,
Kawa coming back, he's there. He can listen to us, but we cannot see him. But we'll
I'm here. I'm just making sure that this camera works.
yeah. While he working on that, so this Israel like basically infiltrating the government. It's been happening for decades, and then now we're seeing it with the Epstein files, and we've seen it with all the document coming up from the FBI, CIA, coming out
Yep.
true that Israel is basically leveraging, I mean, using America as a muscle to implement their power throughout the world. And the more we see it, it's like the flat earth Dave says, once you see it, it's hard to unsee it. And
Yep.
it's been happening. And I've been telling everybody that if you have not watched this documentary, The Final Battle, Europa, it laid out completely how they mentioned that we fought World War II on the wrong side.
hmm,
Believe it or not, we fought it in the wrong side. And I think one general said it. That was his quote. And then he died 2 weeks later in a car accident.
And
Hmm.
you know, it sounds crazy, but
Mhm.
if you think about it, what did we do right after World War II? We basically hired a bunch of their scientists, their people that we were deeming as evil, but yet we got them to work for us afterwards. Like, I mean, the deep state, the word deep state that we use, it's infiltrated in every country. Like, Israel. There, Bibi Netanyahu, that guy, man, he is a warmonger that is like been for years, right?
right.
Yeah.
And it's just so crazy because we have our own deep state, and it's just it's almost like this has probably been going out for years, even prior.
Yeah. And quick facts that people do not understand. Uh, about the Federal Reserve, how it came alive, like 1960
Oh yeah.
something, right after the death of Robert Kennedy Jr., which he was opposed to the Federal Bank. He
Hmm,
said it. He was opposed, and not even a month later, he got shot.
right.
Right. Same thing happened with Omar Gaddafi. The same thing happened to Gaddafi. He want to implement his own currency. He want to keep the money, and he want nothing to do with Israel. What happened to him? They toppled Syria and Libya. It was a whole mess. You know what I mean? And the bad
Right.
part is we keep seeing it over and over. But now with social media, with all this information coming through, we see it now more clear than they used to hide it back in the 80s. There were no social media back then, so it was easy for them to control the narrative. But anyway, let me introduce real quick Kawa Mawlayee, U.S. Army Special Forces, the only Afghan American. in the special forces today. He's an actor, a freedom-loving fighter, and a patriot. So while he working on that.
Sorry,
Kawa, how
guys.
you
I
doing,
think I
brother?
may have. I apologize for interrupting. I may have to just keep kind of unfreezing and refreshing this. I'm not sure what the issue is, but I'm just saying I apologize for the video kind of
No, no, you're good.
inconsistency.
You look good
But
now.
your audio sounds really good, by the way.
Yeah,
Good,
yeah.
good. Yeah, this is kind of my podcast setup. So, yeah, I appreciate the introduction. It's kind of this is what our second time that we're kind of doing this. I appreciate you inviting me back here. I don't think I'm the only Afghan Green Beret anymore, but I was told I was the first and only Afghan Green Beret at the time when we sent that inquiry into the Pentagon, and the Pentagon came back with that. But I know, like my little cousin's in the Q course right now. He might become a Green Beret
Oh
in
wow.
the next 4 or 5 months. But yeah, I appreciate you having me back, man. And I feel like we're talking about Israel and APAC, and I know I kind of jumped into this conversation midstream, but I'm assuming that we're talking about how our foreign policy and domestic policy had pretty much become intertwined at this point. I heard you guys talking about Bibi Netanyahu. Obviously, he's a staple in Israel's culture and society because he's been there for so long, and his father is also somebody that kind of set him up for success, and it goes all the way back to the World War I days with him and his family coming out of Ukraine, I think. I don't know where you guys were picking up. I kind of just came in and kind of like a wrecking ball, I
Well,
guess. No.
well, can I, Julio? I guess what we would like to know, your take on, I guess, and I know this is probably a big question, loaded question, but in your opinion, like what started this whole conflict between the Middle East? Like why uncertainty
Yeah.
of
Yeah, that's a very broad and complex question, but I'll try to simplify it as much as I can. Um, you kind of have to go back to the World War One days of the Bolsheviks and the Russian Revolution, or the Bolshevik Revolution, which a lot of people are miseducated about the Bolsheviks. Um, the Bolsheviks, a lot of people think they were Russians who killed a bunch of Russians, when in fact, did I lose you guys? What happened
No,
here?
no,
you're
yeah,
good.
we're
Oh,
in the
okay. I'm sorry.
corner.
Okay. Uh, the when in fact the Bolshevik Revolution um, was led uh, with the charge of Russian Jews. And the Bolshevik, if you look into the Bolshevik Revolution, it consisted, if you look at the party that was in charge, it consisted of all Russian Jews. Not all Russian Jews, but they're primarily all Jews. Worse than that, it's not about Jews though, it's about Zionism. So kind of like, to answer your question in part, why did this all start? We can't put the blame on Jews. Okay, this has nothing to do with the religion. This has nothing to do with the Jewish faith. This has very much to do with Zionism, the influence of Zionism through the means of money lending, bribery, coercion, blackmail, and well, kind of the same tactic that they have today, the same playbook. The Zionist playbook has been the same since their inception. You either get people to agree to the terms of what you want and to back it, in this case, Israel, or you coerce them and you blackmail them and you bribe them. If they don't take a bribery, then you find a way to blackmail them. If they completely play hardball, then you find a solution to get them out of your way. And that's the simplistic playbook by which a lot of people have fallen victim to, including JFK and some other people. So when the Russian Revolution or the Bolshevik Revolution happened, they were basically at that point kind of kicked out of Russia. And so they decided to go into Germany, and Germany welcomed them with open arms, just like every other country that they've gone into. But what happened in Germany was, back in those days before World War II, in between World War I and World War II, was that a lot of Jewish Russian Jews and Jews of other countries came into Germany and started taking over their financial district, over the media entertainment district. And what I mean by that is they started the practice of usury, but in the German banking institutions, to a place where it was affecting the economy. They started taking over the entertainment industry to the point where there was pornography, and there's pornography. There's adult film theaters with pornography. There was adult bookstores with a lot of pornography and LGBT stuff. They also started a lot of brothels, and so you had a lot of you have a lot of prostitution that was taking place. And then what you had was you had the infiltration of the German government and also other positions within the German government. And so all that kind of came to a boiling point when Hitler decided that this is a problem and he's going to do
Mhm.
something about it.
Especially
Uh,
because his socialism wasn't his promises he was making about socialism wasn't keeping up. But it's crazy. Everything you just said right now is like we basically fell for it. Everything you just explained is what's going on in Hollywood today, with
Absolutely. But that's the playbook. That's the typical playbook, is to infiltrate a country, take over their main societal structures, as in finance, entertainment, sports, politics, lobbies, churches, like leech onto churches and push that whole Judeo-Christian oxymoron, and then you have the Schofield Bible. I mean, you had all these things that, they can't just infiltrate politics. That's like putting all their eggs in one basket. They have
right.
to infiltrate media. They have to infiltrate Hollywood. They have to infiltrate corporations like Apple and Facebook and Palantir and all these other corporations. They have to do that, because if it's just a politician pushing for Israel or the Zionist agenda, well, then it's just one mechanism in place. But we all know, when it comes to strategy, that you have a PACE plan, meaning you have a primary, an alternate, a contingency, and an emergency method of getting things done in case the primary goes down, or these, so they had all these mechanisms in place to make sure that whatever they were trying to get done got done through one means or another means. And then the rest of it is, once you infiltrate these systems, then you just keep it in the family. It's simple. That's why you
Yeah.
don't have regular marriages, you have alliances,
And
Uh,
see their religious background, all the way from the 12 tribes of Judah, remember? And so they've already had that in order, or in was not that's not the word I'm trying to say. Like they already had that groomed in their beliefs, so that was something for them to keep it
and
easily.
and you're right, and that's the claim that they make, though. See, they do all this under the guise of Judaism, when in fact Jewish Zionists, hijacked Judaism. They hijacked that faith. Why? Because it's the oldest faith out of the Abrahamic religions. It's the oldest one that the other Abrahamic religions would support, and you know what I mean, and acknowledge.
Yeah,
And so that's why didn't they hijack Christianity? Well, because Christianity only goes so far back. Who came there before Jesus? Moses. Who came before
yeah.
Moses? And so they didn't hijack Islam either, because Islam then came 500 years after Christianity. So they can't fake their way all the way back to Abraham and Jacob and all these other people that they want to say that they're basing their religion off of, when in fact these Zionists converted to Judaism in Russia in the 8th
See,
century.
this sounds like the Franken's Jews, or Frankenist, or I forgot what they're called. In fact, one of our Supreme Court justices was a Franken Jew, and like, was that Jewish guy that got Candace Owens, Rabbi Shmuley, right? That
Shmuley.
sells, yeah. Like, I think he's a Frankenist as well, right? I think he claims that too.
Yeah, but it's better just to claim, or just to say that these Zionists, I just call them all Zionists. It doesn't. I
Okay,
don't care. You can say you're Ashkenazi, you can say you're Sephardic. It doesn't matter to me. To me, you are a Zionist Jew pushing the Zionist agenda, and the Zionist agenda has been pushed on so many different countries, and all these countries that try to get Zionism out of that country, out of that economy, was villainized. I mean, they villainized Russia, they villainized Germany, and then they continue to villainize the entire Middle East for, after the inception of Israel. So it's always playing the victim card, always saying that people are out to get you. Therefore, you have to take preemptive action to make sure that that doesn't happen because you're God's chosen people. When in fact, and there's been 12 studies at the highest levels and some of the most prestige institutions on just genetic tracing in general. And out of those 12 studies, they have been proven that at least 85% of today's Israelis have no lineage or genetic tracing to the Levant, or what we call Palestine today. In fact, nowhere in the Middle East. And so a lot of these Israelis today are European converts whose lineage never set foot in Israel, but since they hijacked Judaism as a religion, that's one way to fit in. Then you have to hijack the language. So they hijacked Hebrew, and they made it law early days of Israel that you either have to adopt Hebrew or you can't stay. So imagine telling Americans today, immigrants, saying you have to learn English or you can't stay. And that's so in early days of Israel, um, that was the rule. The rule was you either let go of your Russian, let go of your Ukrainian, let go of your Czech or wherever you're from, let go of that language that you've spoken for centuries and adopt Hebrew, or you can't stay. So then now they hijacked the religion, they hijacked the language, and then on top of that, they hijacked a linguistic term called Semite to then say, no, we
Correct.
are the real Semites and you are an anti-Semite. When anybody can do a 5-second Google search and understand that the entire Middle East are Semites, and everybody who is not part of the Middle East organically
Cannot
are
be
actually
as
not
anti-Semite.
Semites.
Yeah.
But today they weaponize these terms. They weaponize Semitism to say, well, if you can't, it's not even about Judaism anymore. Because like at least if they're like, you're against Judaism, you're anti-Semite. Because technically they would be right. Judaism is a Semitic religion because Hebrew is the language of Judaism. So therefore they would be Semites. But it's not about Judaism. They're saying that if you say anything against Israel, the state of Israel, if you criticize Israel, you are anti-Semite. So they just want to make it exclusively about them. But that's every people are smarter than that. We know that today's Israelis are not Semites. They're the actual anti-Semites. The Palestinians are the real Semites, as well as the millions and millions of Middle Easterners in the ME are also Semites. But this is what they do. This is their playbook. They are the masters of stolen identity, and therefore they also have the support mechanisms in place to back them. In this case, in our country, they have APAC, the ADL, and some other organizations like Christians for Zionism and all that 100% supports and keep this perpetual cycle going because it takes money to make this happen.
And so, man, that's a lot. But
That's a
that's
lot,
a
right?
lot
That's
of,
a lot.
yeah.
I tried my
But
best to summarize it, but that's a
but
lot.
it
It's very
it's a clear understanding. And if when you get a chance, what I said prior, I was kind of giving the rough run from the fall of Rome and how how the real Israelites got dispersed everywhere, but some of them stayed, right? But what my next thing is now, so it also doesn't help, because I agree with you, man, with everything. Like they villainize anybody that speaks against it, which I'm with Tucker Carlson, where hey, I can say, hey, the Jewish people are wrong for how they retaliated against. I get it. They were mad that what happened in October of 2024, right? Or was it 2023? Um,
2023, October 7th.
yeah.
23.
Yeah, and I get it. I if that they did that to my house, I would be upset too, and I would go, looking for blood. So I can say though, hey, that was wrong. But I can also say that, hey, Hamas is wrong. I know that some people call them freedom fighters, some people call them terrorists, and when you
Sure.
look at the definition of what a terrorist is and what a freedom fighter is, I mean, it's so complex because they check both boxes. But
100%.
the the only thing that I don't agree, and I get it, they're probably upset the same way, right? But at the same time, it's kind of like, and I hate to say what I'm about to say, but it's kind of like the slaves in Africa, the African American slaves here in America, no one technically has been affected by that. Like, if you can't say, "Hey, my dad was a slave and he was," you know what I mean? So like it's
Mhm.
already passed, and we're trying to move on. And I guess as we're trying to move on, um, I think Hamas is giving the firepower that Israel needs, and whether Israel is actually orchestrating, which that's another thing that we need to look into. Maybe
Well, I mean,
Hamas is,
Israel gave $100 million to Hamas through Qatar.
yeah, see, yeah, and we did too,
And
right?
Israel
With
and Netanyahu himself has said multiple times now that he needs Hamas. He needs Hamas. Like those are his words. We need Hamas. We know that he gives money to Hamas through Qatar because Hamas, the political wing of Hamas, has an
Mhm.
office in Qatar. So
Mhm.
100 million comes into Qatar, 100 million goes into Hamas. Hamas now is weaponized to continue the fight. But I tell people, because earlier you said, well, some people call Hamas terrorists, some people call them resistance. I would tell you that there is, and people find this hard to believe, but I would tell people that Hamas is not the main fighting force in Gaza. Hamas is Hamas is like a poster boy for what a resistance should look like. However, it's not Hamas that's actually fighting the IDF. There are Palestinian resistance groups that are actually fighting the IDF that do not wear uniforms, that don't wear bandanas, that don't look uniform in full kit. They look like the insurgents of the 2005 insurgents in Iraq that didn't have the equipment. They just had their pants, their jeans, and a couple mags in their pockets with an AK, you know. And so the real resistance fighters within Gaza are not Hamas. Hamas is, in fact, very compromised by Israel. And I'm not going to go as far as to say that they work together, but I know for a fact that there's collusion there.
But now, given that the information that we know now, thanks to Candace Owens, that she gave voice to those the Navy or Marines that were, or no, I think it was Navies, um that they were bombed by jet fighters from Israel, and then try to, because they didn't die, they survived. They're the only ones that are speaking against it. So we know Israel kind of, and that's why what happened in Iran recently with Donald Trump blowing up their nuclear sites. I love the fact that Trump did that, because I think Bibi was counting on us to send troops. And had it been another president, he probably would have done that. But Trump said, okay, so the only issue is the nuke sites. Let me just blow it up and boom, problem solved. So what are you going to say now? And I think Bibi Netanyahu is caught off guard. And so he's like, that's why he still went and tried to bomb after the supposedly ceasefire. And
Mhm.
um,
Right.
I,
Right.
I I I think if it wasn't for that move right there, we probably, and again, I'm probably speaking too early, because who knows what he's gonna do. I'm talking about Bibi Netanyahu. He could
Right.
probably, like you said, and I don't, and I hate to be in conspiracies, but I mean, Julio, we like to think outside the box, but I think he might do something. And like you said, I will say that maybe Hamas is an underground organization that BB is funding. And uh,
Well, they're not the only ones BB's funding. Don't forget, BB's also funding ISIS.
oh
Okay,
yeah, and
and that's
Hezbollah, right?
BB's also funding ISIS. No, he's not funding Hezbollah. I mean, that's a true rivalry right there,
Mhm.
is Hezbollah. But we know that the U.S., the CIA, Mossad, Israel's Mossad, had created ISIS through Baghdadi, and then also helped keep ISIS going after Baghdadi with a couple people that are in office right now. One of them is the president of Syria. His name is Jolani, old Al Qaeda fighter, did a little bit of time with ISIS, created Al Nusra Front. We had a $10 million bounty on his head one week, and the next week, Trump is shaking hands with them in Syria, right? So
Yeah,
how is it that this guy is a terrorist who killed Americans one week, but then you're going to shake hands with them the next week because Israel is endorsing him? And why is Israel endorsing an Al Qaeda terrorist in Syria? You know, and
yeah,
and if this guy was really a Muslim and really wanted jihad, then why doesn't he aim his rockets and his men towards Israel? Why is he
Yeah.
allowing Israel to now encroach onto Syria and also take land and build 10 more bases, which the U.S. is also funding?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm telling you, this
So here's
war.
the thing. It's like, and here's the thing I tell people, people say, oh, we need to back Israel because they're our greatest ally. I'm sorry, but the word ally to me is a two-way street of mutual support, right?
Correct.
Like, you do something for me and I do something for you. And this is how, please tell me what Israel has done for us in the 80 years that we have supported this nation, other than ask for money, ask for bombs, bomb their neighbors, attack other places in the Middle East, and then come to the White House or the Congress and tell us that we need to go attack Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria and Libya and Yemen, Jordan, Lebanon. Please tell me, what has Israel done for us? I don't see Netanyahu's son on the front lines fighting anywhere. He's in some $5,000 a month apartment in a high rise, playing with his Nintendo Switch. So, but he wants to send your sons and daughters to go to Syria. He wants to send your sons and daughters to go to Iran. He wants your tax dollars. He wants all of our stockyard of weapons and munitions. But what has Israel done for us? Please, they won't even share intel with us. In fact, the CIA has come out and said that the one country they don't trust at Langley is Israeli Mossad.
They gave us Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
Bro, that's a whole different topic.
Yeah,
Jeffrey Epstein.
dude. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
they gave
Right?
us
That's a whole different topic. So we're talking about an actual foreign black op intel operation happening on U.S. soil with all of our leadership, CEOs, politicians, other key figures being compromised and getting blackmail gathered on them so that they can continue this intel operation of blackmail, coercion, and and everything else. So that, I mean, look at Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz has come out the last few weeks and has become the biggest shill for Israel.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, instead of sitting there and telling Congress to give us money for the Texas flood victims, 3 days after the flood happens, he's advocating to give $250 billion to Israel.
Yeah, that's not good.
And don't forget
That's
what he
not
said
good.
on Tucker Carlson about the only reason he joined the Senate in the first place was to advocate and champion for Israel. You're telling me that the only reason you became a U.S. politician was to advocate for Israel, not Americans?
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's
That alone, it should be.
that's like Ilhan Omar, with Somalia.
Yeah.
I mean,
a
at least
no-go.
Somalia is not paying a shit ton of money to Ilhan Omar through a lobby called AIPAC.
Yeah.
I mean, if Ilhan Omar is some kind of Somali terrorist, then cool. That's a whole different story. Let go, they can investigate her all they want. But how come they don't investigate all these politicians that have taken millions and millions from AIPAC and ADL and then basically just brush off Americans and our interests and always say, we stand with Israel. I unequivocally stand with Israel. I unconditionally stand with Israel. They are our greatest ally. Like, bro, you sound like a robot.
And honestly, I think both sides, they're robots. Because when I would
100%.
say, I stand for Israel, and this is what I guess where the distinction needs to be very, very highlighted on both ends. I stand for the innocent people of Israel, not for the deep state of Israel. The deep state of
Sure.
Israel needs to fall. The same thing with the radical Islamic. I don't stand for them, but I do stand for the innocent people. And it's crazy because, like you just said, they control the word. Because if I just said what I just said right now, anti-Semitic, and they
Yeah.
would, if I was someone famous, they would cancel me. They would try to destroy my
Yeah, bro, you got ICE.
career.
You got ICE closing down your doorstep right now.
I know.
You're
That's
getting
freaking
arrested for
crazy.
anti-Semitism. I mean, that's what's
Yeah.
coming. Tell me why we can criticize our own country, we can criticize Trump, we can burn our own flag, we can protest the White House, but the minute you say something about Israel, that's it. You're a bad guy. You're labeled as anti-Semitic, and now you're on somebody's watch list.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't get any trouble for saying Trump is a fucking pedophile douchebag lowlife, but the minute I say Israel's doing bad things, oh no, that's anti-Semitic, Kawa. You can't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But yet they're our greatest ally, right? We've given $300 billion to Israel in the last 20 years. $300 billion to Israel. You know, the next country that we've given that much money to is
Ukraine.
Well, besides Ukraine. Ukraine is kind of a recent development, right? But I'm talking about a country, Vietnam. Vietnam has gotten 90 billion from us, but that's probably because of some of the Vietnam War, you know, carnage and death and chaos that we brought to their country. But why are we giving a country $300 billion and then giving them another $15 billion in weapons annually?
Yeah.
Especially the Iron Dome. We've been funding.
But yet we have homeless vets on our streets. We have Vietnam vets who can't even get medical care. They're dying in the lobbies of the VA. We have homeless 20-year-olds who the army basically, because getting out of the army and the military is a fucking joke. They don't care about you. Sorry if I'm not supposed to cuss. Just let me know. No, but you got 20-year-olds that got out of the military and they didn't have a good enough plan. They ended up homeless on the street. But yet everybody in Israel gets free healthcare, free education, and free housing, and free tax cuts for purchasing homes with U.S. taxpayer money. But we can't even take care of our own people. They're over there living it up.
Yeah, that's
There's absolutely no reason why we need to support the state of Israel. We can continue to support the people of Israel, just like we support the people of everywhere else. But we no longer need to associate ourselves to the state of Israel. Israel is the opposite of our greatest ally. They have nothing. They have done nothing but cause problems, death, carnage, destruction, and resentment in the world for America.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If you want to talk about why the Middle East hates Americans, they don't necessarily hate Americans like myself and you guys. They hate our system. They hate our government. They hate our politics and our policies. They hate that we have the power and military to go occupy a country for 20 years and not get shit done like Afghanistan and Iraq. We didn't get shit done there in 20 years.
We just found out that that's all a money scheme for the deep state, man.
Exactly. So we don't need Israel as an ally. They are hurting us. They are a leech that are going to bleed us dry. And when they're done with us, they're going to go somewhere else. Just like they did. They left Germany. They came here. One day they'll leave here and they'll go somewhere in Asia. They'll probably go to China and try to do the same thing.
Do you think that will be next? China?
Yeah, 100%. I think they'll try to. You think China's going to, you think Jinping's going to freaking put up with that? Bro, he'll round up every Jew in China and assassinate them on live camera if he wanted to. They're not going to have the same pull over there.
That is if we squeeze them, like if we, sanction them in Israel, and let's just say we make Israel our enemy, they probably would join forces with China.
I tell people there are three political parties in America. There's Democrat, there's Republican, and there's AIPAC.
Yeah, okay? and AIPAC's the money.
AIPAC has almost 400 people that they claim. And the Republicans, there's maybe 55 Republicans that don't get money from AIPAC. There's maybe 67 Democrats that don't get money from AIPAC. But the other 400 or almost 400 politicians that we have in Congress are all owned by AIPAC. Every one of them. And when I say owned by AIPAC, guys, for the people that are listening, that means that they have taken money from this lobby. But when you take money from AIPAC, it's you take this money with a condition. The condition is you support, unequivocally support, and you pass legislation for Israel, or the next time you run for office, they will primary you as somebody else, and they will put all that money behind your opponent, and you'll be out of a job. So it's career suicide for politicians to go against Israel, because that's the system that has been established in this country.
I mean, like, look at how many billions of dollars they spent with Kamala. They were hoping that she would win.
No,
and then
$1 trillion.
God, no,
990 million. Kamala Harris's campaign is $20 million in debt.
Yeah, that is insane.
990 million, guys.
God, no.
Yeah, 990 billion. Thank you.
I'm surprised they didn't call Hillary on her.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry. Let me take that back before I make myself a liar. It's 990 million. So almost $1 billion.
Oh my
Harris's campaign took. and she's $20 million in debt now. And I mean, but
Mm.
hey,
Yeah, I
Trump
know.
took
Yeah,
100
because
million from Mary Madelson.
Hmm.
a lot of these current Jews, they like to, because I have some friends, right, and they always tell me, always put an egg in every basket. So that's what they do.
If you go on AIPAC's Twitter account right now, they brag every day about how many of their Democrats got elected, how many
Yep,
of their Republicans got
Republicans.
elected. So of course they own both sides of the aisle because they have to have bipartisan support in order to pass legislation. And they don't give a shit about Democratic values or Republican values. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. Hey, Kawa, I have a question for you on the tactical realm of this battle between the Hamas and the IDF. How long this conflict will prolong if we keep funding Israel like we funding them
That's
now? How long
easy.
it's gonna take? Because if not, like Netanyahu probably do something to drag us into war. Once he sees fading of the conflict, he probably do something else stupid. Just
Oh, don't
bring
forget why Netanyahu had stirred this all up in the first place. Don't
right.
forget October 7th happened for a specific reason.
Mm-hmm.
October 7th happened because Netanyahu was on trial for corruption,
Yep.
and he was about one more court date away from going to prison for the rest of his life.
Hmm.
God, man,
Okay,
that
so don't forget
yeah,
that was going on, and don't forget that also inside Israel, Israel was on the verge of a civil war before October 7th.
Yeah.
Okay, this is things that we don't see because Israel does a good job of shutting down their media when they need to. But Netanyahu was on the verge of going to jail for a very long time for corruption. And then, boom, October 7th happened. But if you look at the details of October 7th, the 8-hour stand down, the Iron Dome wasn't working. There was no security people at the checkpoints. There's nobody in the towers. The cameras stopped working. The autonomous machine guns didn't work.
there
I
sounds
mean,
like Epstein all over again.
no, it's a
Yeah,
9/11 all over again. It's a
yeah,
9/11.
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
So
they
they
did a good
needed
job with
this
9/11.
because in Israel, as long as Israel is in conflict, they can't do anything with Netanyahu. He can delay all these court. I mean, they're still trying to get him in the court systems, but they can't do anything to him because hey, he's like, we're in the middle of a conflict. You can't put me in court right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so these things needed to happen. And to answer your question, how long will this conflict last if we keep supporting Israel? This conflict will last until the last Palestinian is dead.
Yeah.
That is when it'll be over. When the last Palestinian person is alive and they kill him either in Gaza or the West Bank, then this conflict will be over. But it won't stop, will it? Because the Greater Israel Project needs to take part of Syria. It needs to take part of Egypt. It needs to take part of Jordan, Lebanon. So the encroachments and these what was the word I was looking for? These preemptive, that's the word I was looking for. These preemptive
Mhm.
attacks are going to continue. Look at my face, just frozen with that silly expression.
I will clip that.
But these preemptive attacks are going to continue. So even after they kill the last Palestinian in Palestine, they're going to go after. They're going to continue into Syria and to take it all the way to Damascus. Because if you look at the Greater Israel Project, it's way bigger than modern day Israel. It dips into Saudi Arabia and it dips into all their neighbors. They're not done by a long shot. Palestine is just the first hurdle that they have to get over.
Hmm.
But it almost sounds that, like you said, they were trying to put him in prison. So it almost sounds like his days are numbered.
His
And
days are numbered. His days are if Trump
it,
if Trump were to just say nope, we're done, we're not supporting you anymore until we get some peace deals with this country, that country, this country. Like if Trump in America said, hey, we're not supporting you on Iran, Syria, or any of these other countries that you're trying to bomb. First of all, Israel wouldn't last 6 months in self-defense terms, and Bibi Netanyahu would be in jail 2 months after we stop supporting them.
Yep.
and see, that's scary for Trump because, I think that uh JFK, that just comes to
Yeah,
mind.
he doesn't want to get JFK.
Yeah.
But here's the
Yep.
thing. They got Trump by the balls, okay? So they got Miriam Madelson gave him $100 million. And what was her condition? You guys remember her condition for the money?
No.
Her condition was, I'll give you the 100 million if you give me the West Bank. She wanted complete annexation of the West Bank. Okay.
Wow.
which he's doing that basically.
Which is what
Yeah.
they're doing. If you noticed that when this whole little dramatic, 12-day war was going on with Iran, what did they do in the West Bank? They escalated operations. What did they do in Gaza? They escalated operations. They were killing roughly 100 people per day in Gaza during that 12-day war, and nobody blinked an eye because everybody was talking about Iran and Israel and World War III. They escalated.
This is,
Yeah.
So
man, I'm telling you.
and don't and when you say that Trump is afraid, yeah, he should be afraid because they have him by the balls. One,
But
you took the money. Two, you kissed the wall. Okay, you went to Israel and you kissed the wall. Okay. Three, he knows now that whatever they have on him, and I'm going to go back to Epstein, okay, because I very much believe that Trump is on the Epstein list of clients. And so that's why he came out yesterday and said this is a Democratic hoax and this and that, and that's why I'm not going to show you. No, bro, you're not going to show us because you're on the list. And the Democrats didn't show us because he made that in a statement. Why didn't the Democrats pull this list? The Democrats didn't pull this list and show us because they're also on the list.
Yep.
You're all on the list.
yeah, but I would believe that they would make him a scapegoat and lock him up forever, and we probably would have forgotten the list already because we
Who's
were
that?
already forget the Americas because we were already forgetting about the list. The reason why we know and we're hyped up about the list is because Trump brought it back into the campaign that he was going to release it,
Well,
meaning
because that's what we wanted to hear. I mean, he told
yeah,
us what we wanted to hear. Right? But he
correct.
had no
Yeah.
intention of it because he's on the list. And if he's not on the list, he's tied to that list in an incriminating way. Right?
True.
So all this big talk about, oh, he was on Epstein and they don't want to, this and that during your campaign trail and even during your first presidency. Dude, you were just telling us what you wanted to hear. Now, when it's time to get off the when it's time to shit or get off the pot, you're telling us that there's no Epstein list, and in fact, it's a hoax that the Democrats made up to demonize you. No, no, no. No one's falling for this bullshit anymore. Where Trump thinks he can talk his way out of this. Everyone is going to remember the Epstein list. You got General Flynn, who just came out today and said, "We're not stopping. We're not stopping till we get answers." And you got Congress. You got Congress now. Certain members of Congress that want to bring the Epstein files to the floor and get a floor vote. And when you get a floor vote on something like the Epstein files, that gives the entirety of America transparency. So this is, if you want to say
But
what's
this
scary
is
for
good.
Trump,
Yeah,
this
this
is
is good.
scary. This is good
I,
for us. It's scary for Trump.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
scary for Trump and everybody else, the Clintons and the Bushes and
And if he's not, and let's just say, even if let's just say he's not on the list, if they make this transparency, then it just destroyed his whole credibility, his whole legacy, because this is something that we all care about.
you could
And
have went down as the
yep,
greatest president on
yep,
earth, and you had a couple chances. If you would have enforced an actual ceasefire in Gaza, and where the killing just stops, immediately you would have been a candidate for one of the greatest presidents in our history. You also had a chance to do that by showing us the
Oh, I
JFK
think we
files.
lost him.
You reneged
yeah.
on that. You had a third chance of doing that by showing us the Epstein files. You reneged on that. So how many times in my book, that's 3 strikes, bro. That's 3 strikes for you. What
Yeah.
else are you going to renege on?
Yeah. That's what I
And
was
now
saying.
you throw these curve balls at us, like trying to redefine the 1A to only protect a certain segment of people.
Mm.
So, but like if I called you guys a wetback, if I called this person a chink, if I called that person a raghead, if I called this person this other person, this black person, some derogatory term, if I called all these people these derogatory terms, there's no laws in America to protect you. If I went after Christians in America, there's no laws to protect Christians in America. But he wants to redefine the 1A to protect a segment of people who only make up 2% of America. Why is that?
Yeah, yeah.
Why is that?
That
I thought
yeah.
America was a Christian nation, bro. I thought
Correct.
America was a white Christian nation. Where's all the white Christians who should be standing up right now and say, "Hey, what happened to why are we putting laws in place to protect Christians?"
Plus, as a Christian, and myself, we're all, saved by the grace of Jesus. So there's no more chosen people of God. for our
Bro, don't
belief.
even get me
You know what
don't
I'm
even get me
saying?
started on the whole religious aspect of this, because
Yeah.
yeah, we can get into a rabbit hole of who's the chosen people, and we're both going to
Yeah.
agree that it's not those people over there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree
Yeah,
with
me
that.
too. Hey, Kawa, just one point we were talking about the other day. We were mentioning the same thing, like this issue of Epstein Lee's list and not disclassifying all these events going on. It's kind of, I'm telling you, this is gonna tarnish the press, his legacy for. I mean, if he's not fixed this in a week or a month, that will follow him. That little speck, of dirt, it will be the tarnish of his career. People could say, he's the best president, but they always gonna remember the Epstein files. I mean,
Well,
probably 20 years from now, they'd be like, he didn't release it, and that's why he's not the greatest president of current times. But
but he hasn't. I mean, I ask people like, so I voted for Trump too. In all transparency, full disclosure, I voted for the man too. And people come to me and they're like, "Dude, you really criticize Trump a lot, bro. Like, I didn't see you criticizing Biden this much or Obama this much." And I said, "Why would I criticize people that I didn't vote for? I didn't want them in office in the first place." But
right,
Yeah.
when I vote for a man or a woman and I put them in office or help put them in office, and then they don't carry out their promises during their campaign, and on top of that, they throw some curveballs at us, then I have earned the right to be his biggest critic,
Yep.
right?
yeah,
And that just highlights the personality who you are. You're voting by being aware, You're not voting blindly. You're
This is
not
what we
being
say in the military. We
yeah.
say police your own. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm policing my own. Trump, I considered him one of my own, so therefore I'm policing him. So I shouldn't, the Republicans should or conservatives shouldn't come down on me because I'm not on the MAGA bandwagon. I'm sorry, I'm not on the MAGA bandwagon. That bandwagon is so far ahead of me, and I just see it keep getting further and further away from me. I'm no longer. I've never been MAGA, but I am so far from the MAGA, the whole MAGA mindset, because it's all a lie. And I ask people, so what is one good thing that Trump has done for us? Just give me one good thing, you know. And people struggle. So if you're going to struggle with one good thing that Trump has done for us, then how are you so hard, like bandwagoning for this guy so hard?
Well, I mean, I could list a few, but number one, just the
Okay,
fact that he basically his existence of in this political sphere woke up the beast that was not, because prior Trump, no one gave two F's about politics. No one gave two F's about any passion of anything that had to do with politics. If it wasn't for this man to step up and actually say things that were not political correct, that one thing that just existing into this political sphere, it made people like you and me, Julio, involved in it. Because to be honest with you, prior to this, I didn't give two craps about politics, and I'm looking at the youth now, like my children and the people that are within teenage years, they are caring about politics. That's never happened in American history before. So that's one, right? I guess
perhaps. I
this.
mean, I'll give him some credit for that. I can't say it's all because of him. I think by the time Trump came into office, we were all very tired of Obama too, though. It
Yeah,
was
that's
eight
fair enough.
it's 8 years of Obama, and so Trump was like, "Hey, let's try something new." We never had a CEO, we never had a TV celebrity as a president, and then Trump coming in with the CEO mindset. He's very unfiltered. He's very direct. He's very abrasive in the way he talks. We like
Yeah,
that because
exactly.
we were so used to 8 years
Political correctness.
of Obama with his elegance and his, like just the way he talked, man, women were swooning to this guy, and so then comes Trump with fuck the sugarcoat. Let me tell you how it really is. And we were like, oh, whoa, we like this guy. And
yeah.
he ran with it. He ran with it. And I supported him during his first presidency. And I think he did a fair job. There's only so much you can do in 4 years. But now, during his second presidency, I feel like he's gone completely away from everything that his first presidency stood for.
Yeah, fair enough.
He's no longer for the people. If he was, he wouldn't try to change the 1A. If he was, he wouldn't sit there and try to deport American citizens. I mean, listen, I'm against the whole illegal immigrant thing too. But you're not even, but you're weaponizing the immigration system to go after
Well,
Americans.
and see, that's a whole different topic right
Whole
there. But
different topic.
like, yeah, like he adopted that from Vivek Ramaswamy, which I love that guy. He's very smart and intelligent. But the challenge about the birthright citizenship, I agree with that. Um, it's not. I don't think it was intended for what we're using it, and it's never been argued because of one court case that had no one, everybody dismissed what the judge said, his statements afterwards, and I guess Vivek is the one that pitched them Trump that idea, and at the end of his campaign, that
Mhm.
it can be challenged, there's grounds to be challenged, and that's what he brought up, which this would be a huge win, I guess, in the mega, what we want, and that would be great. Now, as far as I think they're challenging how far back they want to go, like 4 years, but I'm with you in that they shouldn't take away if they're born here prior to this ruling. If it does, if we win that ruling, they shouldn't go back any
No, because
year. Yeah.
these people are protected under the Constitution. These and when I talk about American citizens, I wasn't really necessarily talking about birthright citizenship. That's a like a subtopic, but just in general, you are telling us that you are going to kick all these illegals out, and we're all on board with that. We're like, yeah, do it, kick them all out. And then who does he go after? College students with permanent visas. You know, uh, people with green cards. He's gone after actual American
But
citizens.
they're not
He,
citizens.
no, they are citizens. If you have a green card, if you have a
You're not
permanent
a citizen because you're not allowed to vote. You're not
no,
allowed
no, no.
to.
But no, but you're
You're
constitutionally
legal. You're
protected.
legal. You're legal, and you do have ground. Like, for example, if I go to any country, or even the United States, if I have a green card, because my dad used to have a green card, so and when I helped him get his American citizen, whatever, uh, there's the rules are that you are supposed to have allegiance to this country, and there are certain things that they tell you in there that if you don't comply with certain things, you can be revoked from your legal status if
Sure.
you do so and so and so.
Sure, but what are
And
they being revoked for though? Because they said something against Israel? Because they're anti-Semite? What happened to the First
yes,
Amendment?
some okay, so some of them are doing more than that because they're obstructing. Because see, this is the thing. There's a lot of people that don't know the difference between a riot and a protest. A protest is you blocking the road, an easement of anything that has to do with a road.
Sure.
If you didn't get a permit for that and you're blocking it, that is grounds of rioting. That
Sure.
is, you're breaking a law. And
Sure.
if you're
Mhm.
if you're shutting down a university, that is not protest no more.
Okay, but
That's
I'm not
rioting.
seeing him arrest. I'm not seeing him arrest people on the streets that are blocking traffic. I see ICE agents going up to college student Muslims and other college students in the middle of them just walking wherever,
and
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 they're
their claim is, which again we don't, and I don't think they have to show us, but their claim is, I mean, they do, if a judge signed it, right? Because the way I understand is, like, if I'm a judge and they're telling me, hey, we're gonna get this person so and so, and the judge either usually vocally says, yeah, go for it, I'll sign the paperwork tomorrow, and then they go after this person, and the reason why they claim is that that person had intel, or it was they were they were organized by uh, a foreign uh entity that's a terrorist group or something, and that's the claim, right? But
Mhm.
who, I don't know for a fact, right?
No,
We
because
don't
they don't
we don't
show.
know.
There's no
Yeah.
transparency though. But that's the thing. There's no
and
transparency. I
and
mean,
that's
these
something
guys.
that maybe we should call our congressman. Hey, we need to hold you guys accountable. Show us, if there is a judge order, why are they being uh why they're being detained and being exiled, you know?
Yeah, but I mean
I agree with that.
that's the transparency they don't give us. These ICE agents have turned into Gestapo. You know, they have masks on. They don't fully identify themselves. I mean, we can tell by all their kit that they're ICE and Border Patrol, but they just roll up and they take somebody and snatch them away, and then they're moved to 3 states before their family even finds out. That's the kind of America we want to live in, where your son or daughter can get snatched up because she said something that was deemed anti-Semitic or criticizing our government or something Trump didn't like, and so you come home and you're like, "Where's our daughter?" "Oh no, she hasn't shown up." And you call, and then she's in Louisiana in some state in some prison.
Yeah.
That's the kind of America that we want to live in,
I
because
mean,
that's the
yeah,
kind of
no,
America
but
that we're supporting right now. That's what we're supporting. You know, I'm like I said, I'm all about coming here the right way. My family came here 45 years ago the right way. You know, we did our paperwork. Then we lived in Pakistan for like 6 months. I was like maybe 3 years old until our paperwork got approved, and then we came to the U.S. And then 5 years later, we became citizens. 5 years after we came into the states, we actually went and had our interviews, and we all became U.S. citizens. We're naturalized. I fully support our immigration process. But what I don't support is taking an immigration system and then weaponizing it for your political needs.
yeah.
That's what I
Yeah,
don't support.
yeah, I'm agree with that too. We need to just hold our politician accountable. I mean, they sometimes they do stuff that we not agree, or they just come up with stuff off the cuff. You know, what I mean, they just do
And I
unbelievable
do
stuff just to
I
support Israel or whatever. And if we get banned because we are talking bad, not talking bad, we criticizing
Yep,
Israel. We're not saying nothing
No,
bad
we're
about the
exercising our
people. We
freedom of
just
speech.
yeah, we
yep,
criticizing the government how they handle it and how they do stuff. And like I was telling you, I was telling my friend Robert, they using the United States as a muscle. You know what I mean? As the bully. You know what I mean? Like kind of like that realm of like my friend is bigger than yours. So we the United States we've been used to do the fight, and Israel just sitting back, collect money, and do all the stuff while we bleeding and getting punched in the face.
Exactly. Everybody in Israel is laughing at us right now
Yeah,
because their system is working flawlessly for them. Meanwhile, our entire country is in turmoil, and they don't care. As long as the checks keep rolling in, as long as the bombs keep rolling in, as long as our politicians show loyalty to APAC and Israel, they don't care what happens. America could burn down tomorrow and they wouldn't care. They would only care if their revenue system was interrupted.
yeah,
that's true.
yeah. I That is true. I agree
What we
with
need to
that.
do is we need to take all these politicians. First of all, we need to do away with dual citizenship, because you have over 20 members of
Yes,
Congress that have Israeli citizenship. Why?
yes,
Why do we have a Congress member named Brian Mast who is coming to Congress in an IDF uniform? Why do we have Israeli flags all over the halls of Congress, yet we don't see any American flags until you get into their offices?
yep.
Well,
I do, dude. That I agree with you there,
yeah, we
man.
talked about
That
it with JJ Carroll. About
we have not been taken over by a foreign government and a foreign entity, and then explain all that to me. If that's your defense, if that's your argument, then explain why this is happening.
that's
Yeah,
true.
no, that's facts right there,
And
dude.
then, so we need to do away with the dual citizenship. We need to make APAC either register as a foreign agent under FARA, or we
Yes,
kick them out of the country. Same thing with all the other little Zionist lobbies that exist. There's like 22 Zionist lobbies. I mean, APAC is not alone. And then when you talk to these politicians and they're like, "Hey, why'd you take money from APAC?" They're like, "Well, we didn't take money from APAC. APAC gets their money from private donors." Yeah, private donors who are basically APAC. I mean,
APEC
who do
members.
you think APAC is? APAC is a foreign lobby group of private donors with a ton of money who know that if I give, let's say, $10 million to APAC, and APAC says, "Well, we'll use 8 million of this to donate to somebody we back in the next campaign race," then that's your system. The system is we give money to Israel. Israel gives money to APAC. APAC buys politicians. Our politicians vote money to Israel. And that is the triangle right there. That's a cycle.
Man,
Yeah,
and
it's a
it just
money
like,
laundering scheme.
what do we do, you know? I mean, it's just a mess, dude.
I'm telling you
Yeah,
right now, if we want to make a difference, the single one thing that we could do to make a difference in this country is all of us march on Washington and we say to either APAC register as a foreign agent. That way they're restricted and we have transparency into all of their meetings, into their finances. We have, you know what I mean, disclosures.
Yeah.
Either make them register as a foreign agent or kick them out. No more of these. No more of these American slash Israel, American slash whoever lobbies in our country. No more. Like foreign lobbies have to go. We have enough problems with oil lobbies, the casino lobbies, you know,
Pharma, all
The
that
the
stuff.
big
Chinese
big
lobbies.
pharma lobbies. You got Chinese lobbies that are trying to buy land. We have enough problems with that. What we don't need is a lobby for a foreign country like Israel that takes billions of our dollars every year, takes billions of our weapons every year, kills their neighbors with it, and then hides behind us. When
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
neighbors start to retaliate, they're like, whoa, 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 please, America, come save us. But then it wasn't Netanyahu came to Congress in 2002 after 9/11 and said,
Oh yeah.
I guarantee that if
Web.
you go to Iraq and you take out Saddam, it will have positive reverberations for the entire region. Right. So we were
That
like,
was
okay. So
yeah.
then we took his word for it. We went and took out Saddam. Then there was no weapons of mass destruction. There was
Yeah.
no positive reverberations. There was only positive reverberations for Israel. Netanyahu himself said that Israel benefited from 9/11. 9/11 was a good thing for Israel. It was a bad thing for America. That's his words.
Yeah, I remember there were two billionaires from Israel who bought it, double the insurance because the whole building was made of asbestos. So they planned the whole thing and they collect all that money.
Exactly. We need to
Then
cut the head of the snake off. In this case, the head of the snake is APAC. And if we can cut off APAC and ADL and these other ones, then the politicians don't get the money from these lobbies. And therefore, these politicians don't have to swear a alliance to Israel and APAC. Then they
And
can
then we can
actually,
hold. Then we can hold those politicians accountable because then we're on fair ground.
yeah,
yeah,
we
because
should
then it's
do.
like, hey, listen, you don't have to shill for Israel anymore. Like now you don't have to swear your fake alliance to Israel because they're afraid. They know that if they stop supporting Israel, Ted Cruz and these other people, that the next time the midterms are up or next time elections come around, they're gonna monetize some other person to take on Ted Cruz, to take on whoever, and then it's just gonna be another version of Ted Cruz. They know that. But
Mhm.
if we can take away the one thing our politicians fear, then maybe they'll get their balls back and actually stand for America.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should do term limits too. I mean, like two
Oh,
terms
100%
is
term
enough.
Oh,
limits. And
and
guess
then
what?
they
Term
they have
limits,
to be American citizens.
listen, term limits is something that liberals, conservatives, the middle, the far right, the far left, all of us can get
Would
behind.
unite. Yep.
Definitely,
Yes,
we
We could
should
sir.
we should
literally
do that.
we could literally march on Washington and we can go for one thing, and that's term limits. And that's it. Get these old dinosaurs out of here, and let's get some fresh blood in here. The problem with the fresh blood is that APAC is ahead of us with the fresh blood.
Yeah.
They recognize they have a whole farm system now, APAC. They go to college campuses and they see, well,
Yeah.
who's the most prominent student body speaker. They go to these other institutions. Who are these up and coming, people that could run for politics one day, and they attach themselves to these people. I mean, look at Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was able to start Turning Point USA because of his Israeli backers and funders and financiers.
Hmm.
And they hope that Charlie Kirk runs for politics one day because he is there speaking. I mean, him, people like Ben Shapiro. I mean, all these young up and coming influencers and political analysts are the future politicians that APAC has their eyes on. So
Yeah.
we have to cut off the head of the snake in order to let the actual healing of our nation trickle down to our youth. Because
Yeah.
right now they have our youth in their eyes, in their radar.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another rabbit hole. Ben Shapiro. All these
Ben
the Daily
Shapiro's a
Wire.
Mossad agent. That's plain and simple. Ben Shapiro's a Mossad Israeli shill.
Yeah,
He's an
all
agent.
the
Yeah,
Candace
he
Owens
is.
separated for the Daily Wire.
PragerU, the head of PragerU, Dennis Prager, he's
Yep.
Mossad. I
Oh,
mean,
Yeah.
have you heard of Dennis Prager CEO Alexa Wilkins?
Cash's girlfriend, yeah, bro,
Yeah,
she's Mossad. 80 Unit
nuts.
8200 Israeli intelligence. But
That is,
you're gonna make her your girlfriend, bro?
I'm.
Yeah.
Oh my
Okay,
God,
tell me that's not shady, right? So either
it
he
is
knew
shady.
about it, or he got honeypotted, or they blackmailed him.
He
Mm.
got he got see like it was the the senator. What was the name? The Democrat senator
Um.
Sewell or
Which one?
Sewell. They got involved with the Chinese.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
He,
Uh. What's his name?
it
Um,
was Sewell, right?
Something
Swalwell.
like that. Swalwell.
Swalwell.
Yeah, Swalwell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Swalwell.
I think Cash got honey pad with like so well.
Yeah, I mean, they all got honey potted. I mean, it's the oldest trick in the book is to use sex and beauty to lure a guy in, and then you got him.
Yeah.
You either got him on blackmail, or he actually, I don't know, likes you and falls in love with you, and now
Hmm.
you're secretly running this your boyfriend or your husband. I mean, this is not like a this is not a James Bond like plot. This is things that are actually happening. You
It's
know what I
just
mean?
a man. It's just if you think about it, it's just a mess, though. You got this one issue, right, with Epstein. You got this issue with the Israelite Bibi Netanyahu. Just imagine if you're Trump's dealing with this. Then you got what we just discussed with Chinese. I mean, it's just a mess, dude.
It's
But
a mess.
And
It's a
you
mess.
always got
it's a
the usual
mess.
suspects. Israel is
Yeah,
involved in
It
yeah.
always
everything.
Because
it always
if you
goes back
go,
to them.
yeah, if you go to Ukraine, they're in there. I'm sure of it.
It is.
The Macrons,
Oh, okay,
they're in
yeah.
there
I was
too.
about to say, don't get me started on Ukraine because the whole reason Ukraine happened was because of Israel in the first place.
I know that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like,
Yeah,
dude, man, it just so yeah. You're absolutely right, Julio. Is Israel, and I think we need to
it's
really
Zionism. It's
yes. Oh yeah,
Zionism.
The
Zionism. Yep,
common denominator is Israel in everything.
Israel
and
is the face of Zionism.
we're
Gosh,
talking
man.
about the deep state of Israel. We're not talking about
No,
the
there is no
innocent
deep state, but that's
civilians.
the thing, bro. There's no deep state in Israel. They are all very overt about their intentions.
Yeah, they are.
They're very
Okay.
overt. If you listen to the Likud party in Israel, if you listen to the members of the Knesset or the members of the Likud party, they they overtly say how they feel about America. They overtly say what their intentions are, and they don't give a shit. There's no hiding anything. There's no deep state in Israel. The entire state of Israel, the entirety of Israel as a government is a Zionist terrorist regime that has their hooks in our country. There's no deep state over there. The only deep state is here. They need that here to get shit done. They don't need that over there. Over there, they're all saying it, high fiving each other.
Hmm.
So there's no deep state in Israel. The deep state's here.
Man,
Mm,
that's crazy.
that's
Well,
crazy.
no, we're gonna close out this live because if
The-
it's not, we're gonna keep going for another 3 hours, and then we.
Yeah, sorry, bro. I came in here.
No,
I
no, you're
hijacked it.
good.
no,
You're
you're
good.
good. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you're good. We're probably gonna keep up this conversation sometime next week, and we bring another angle of this Israel meddling with the U.S. politics and not in politics with the entertainment industry, gas, pharma. If you look all the CEOs or executive officers of those big companies, they're all Jewish,
And don't
and
forget, don't forget
that's
that
crazy.
Trump took 100 million from Pharma, Big Pharma. Don't
Yeah,
forget.
that's true. Yeah, that's
That's
true.
He
true,
took a
man.
hundred million from Big Pharma. He took 100 million from Adelson. He took 270 million from Elon. He took a bunch of money, bro. He is so stuck. He is so stuck that if he goes too hard against the grain, he will get JFK'd.
And
100%.
he almost did once. So
And
Yeah.
listen, I'm not going to put it past Israel to be behind the two assassination attempts because before, they only said that Trump is their champion after Trump took office. If you notice, Israel wasn't backing Trump. They
No,
didn't give
yeah,
a
they
shit.
weren't. Nope,
They
they
wanted
weren't.
Kamala to win.
yeah.
In fact, did you know that right the day of or before assassination attempt, a lot of people like Bibi and Bush, the Bushes, the Clintons, they had stocks in within the Truth Social, and they took it out.
Hmm.
And then when Trump didn't die, they bought the stocks again. So I mean that just tells
Napoleon
you,
all over again, bro. Napoleon
yeah,
Wars
dude.
all over
Oh
again,
my gosh.
right?
But it's like crazy,
I mean, this is their
crazy.
playbook, though. That's their playbook, and they've done a very good job of executing this entire operation, and it's become such an establishment that like the three of us are here scratching our heads, like, well, where do we begin? How do we combat this? You know,
Correct.
And the way we combat it is, one, to educate the masses like we are right now, but then also to then actually organize and put pressure on the politicians that APAC needs to register under FARA, and no more dual citizenships in Congress, and we need to stop backing Israel with such impunity.
Or just any country in general, man. Just
Sure,
no
yeah, sure.
country, you
Listen,
know?
I don't give a shit. Don't give money to the Sauds. Don't give money to Kuwait. Don't give money to Qatar. Give that money to America and Americans that need it here first. Okay.
Exactly.
And then if we want to talk about foreign aid, cool. Let's talk about a
Well,
foreign aid
that's why
package
we
that makes
have
sense.
NATO and the UN.
The
That's
UN.
where we, you know what I mean? Like we don't. Why do we have that then if we're just supplementing a special country? You know, that's
Yeah.
just
I mean,
so dumb,
and
redundant.
even half the money we give to Ukraine goes to Israel.
Yeah.
People don't even know that. People don't even know
Facts.
that. People think we're giving
Facts.
all this money to the Ukrainian military to defend themselves against Russia. Nah, bro. Maybe like a third of that, but 2/3 of that will go to Israel. And follow the money is all I'm going to say. Just follow the money.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
As the
crazy.
words of Hillary Clinton, follow the money.
Oh my God, that's another rabbit hole in itself, because she is deeply involved, and all the Clintons and the Obamas, they're deeply involved with the
I
Israel
mean, yeah.
and
I mean, the Clintons.
It's
Clinton. I
basically
mean, Bill Clinton was Epstein's biggest client.
yep.
26 trips on the Lolita
And
Express, bro. 26.
and
that's a
here's
lot.
here's the craziest thing. I hope this sucks to say this, but Epstein is just one of many. There's the
Did he?
reason why. Yeah, Diddy's another one, but there's more that we don't even know of. There's probably a bunch more,
100%.
and that's so crazy, dude. And it's just
100%.
oh man, it's just
The
terrible
plot
times.
thickens, man. I'm telling you, all this stuff is just like, it is insane. It is
What's
insane.
happening? What we're seeing right now is the very first couple sparks that you see when you build that campfire before it gets to a roaring flame.
Yeah.
What we're seeing is we are seeing these little sparks here and there in our society that is hinting towards a revolution. And people say revolution, man, that's such a big word. That's complex. Like, I don't think we're there yet. No, you're right. We're not there yet. We're not at a point where Americans need to rise up with their AR-15s in their hands. But what you're noticing in our society through people like Tucker Carlson, through this Epstein stuff, through the Candace Owens, through, in fact, even mainstream media now is starting to question a lot of the narrative, is what you're seeing is you are seeing people wake up at an alarming rate. That's why
Yeah.
they're scared. That's why ADL went
Yep.
after TikTok, right?
Yep.
That's why Trump was all over TikTok, because they're scared. The world is waking up to America's definitely waking up, but now you have the entire world that's waking up to the Israel-America relationship and what's
which
really
is like
happening.
which is crazy that Ian Carroll, he's the one that brought all this up in
Yep.
TikTok, and it just went ballistic, dude.
Yeah.
And that's when
Mhm.
I found out about APEC and the whole how it used to be the Zionist movement, which JFK got JFK'd, you know.
The
Oh man,
Zionist
dude.
Council.
Yeah.
Yep. It was a Zionist council. And before the Zionist council, it was the Federation of Zionists. I
And he
mean,
was days away of getting it through the Pharaoh, right? So it's just
well, yeah,
It's-
because you have people like Trump, not Trump himself, but you have people like the president, the vice president, you have the chief of staff, and all of these cabinet members. I mean, you have very powerful people telling people, "Hey, don't worry about that minor detail. Go ahead and approve them." You know what I mean?
mhm.
yeah.
And so that's how stuff gets done. I mean,
That's
Trump
true.
is showing us every day in his tweets that he is not only breaking constitutional law, but he doesn't hold constitutional law in regard. He doesn't consider constitutional law when dealing with Americans. I mean, they're all showing us their true faces and the true face of corruption. And whether you want to say, hey, Trump is a good guy or he's a bad guy, it doesn't matter, because at this point, he's playing their game and he's playing it to the T. And we don't know what the next 3.5 years looks like with Trump, but I'm telling you right now that if Trump continues down this avenue and at the pace that he is going with how much he's done in the last 7 months, in the next 3 to 4 years, something catastrophic is going to happen in this country because America and Americans and especially conservatives, he's going to lose his entire base. And once he loses his base, then he has nothing to fear at that point because because when America wakes up to a tyrant, the tyrant can no longer talk his way and tweet his way through it. Now he has to take action. And what we're seeing with ICE, believe it or not, is the early days of Gestapo, the early days of secret police. When what Hitler did in Germany is exactly how ISIS start is how ICE or, excuse me, what the Gestapo was in Germany is exactly how what we're seeing today with ICE is exactly how they started back then. They started rounding up people in the middle of the night. Nobody knew where these people went. Nobody knew for what reason. There's no transparency. But Americans went or Germans went missing left and right. People went missing left and right. The same thing is happening here. What we're seeing is the face of fascism and the face of tyranny coming out in people that we have voted for, and they're doing it under the guise of national security.
Hmm. Hey, Kawa, I have a question for you. Now that we're talking about, fascism and all that stuff, do you think the Israel support communism?
Do I think Israel supports communism?
Yeah.
No, I don't think communism and Zionism are the same thing. I think that you may have Israelis who support communism, but
Mhm.
I don't think communism and Zionism are exactly the same thing. I mean, Zionism is supreme dominancy through whatever means. Communism is is
Yeah. The
well, we all
government
know
owns everything. Yeah.
so I don't. So when to answer your question, Julio, I don't think Israelis support communism uh, because that would almost contradict Zionism in a sense. Even though they're both bad things, one there that's it's like two different strategies of governance. So
Yeah. No, it's a wild thought because I'm like, what I'm seeing on both is kind of the same playbook, of like uh, deceive and deception and kind of manipulate people to do, what they want to do, what all they want to accomplish. So I'm kind of see some like traits of using kind of the same tactics, but well, you're right, they're both different and in the essence, but they're using kind of the same tactics of
it's two,
deceiving
it's two
people.
different it's two different ideologies.
You're right.
Yeah, two different ideologies.
Yeah,
One,
Israel wouldn't be able to exist in a communistic government because communism it would abolish all religion, and they claim to be religion. So
Yeah.
they would, yeah, it would be.
well, yeah. I mean, listen, you gotta fake it till you make it. You know.
Yeah.
So it doesn't stop with hijacking a religion to say this is who you are and you're the chosen people, but then you have to hijack the language to now speak like the actual chosen people. And then you had to hijack a term to make it exclusively about yourself. So if anybody questions your religious or ethnic background, they are now anti-Semite. It's just a game of hijacking and saying that this is who we are. And listen, like I said, there's been 12 studies done by very smart people in genetic testing that will tell you that today's Israelis are Ashkenazi Jews, and they are not Levantine Jews. They are not part of the 12 tribes, nor are they do they have any kind of legacy in the land of Palestine or Israel, whatever you want to call it, in the Levantine. But but they don't care about that. They don't care that. And to support that, why isn't genetic testing allowed in Israel? Did you guys know that?
Hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, so you can't. You have to have a special court order to get a genetic test done in Israel.
Which is crazy because if you think, and again,
Right.
this this is
I'm reading
this
your
it,
mind, bro. Trust me, I'm reading
yeah,
your mind.
you know, it's
It's like,
like,
listen, if you are who you are, then why not allow
yeah,
genetic testing
exactly,
instead? Be like,
because
look, here, our genetic tests say that we belong here, but no, you make it illegal, and the only way you can do it is a special court order. I mean, that's kind of shady, dude. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
that is shady. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it
know.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna close this tonight. I really appreciate Kawa for your insights on on the Gaza and Israel
Well, I just come in
perspective.
here to stir things up, bro. You know me. I just
Hey, I like
Hey,
that.
that's
I
good.
like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I know. So I'm gonna post your I'm gonna show the people where they can follow you. Let me put it
appreciate
right
that.
here. You can follow Kawa Mawlayee right here, Kawa M official on Instagram, and
Oh yeah, look at
also
that. I
you
appreciate
can
that.
find him in you can find the Two Alpha Training Group also on Instagram, and he also has his own YouTube Alpha Training Group and YouTube. You can find that. Hey, I heard
Hey
you also
Julio,
you have a podcast. Can you
y-
please share with us your
we just
podcast?
started. We just started a podcast called the Weekly Debrief, where a long time military friend of mine and I are now basically talking about these topics. And we just posted our fifth episode. But yeah, it's the Weekly Debrief on all platforms. But so and Julio, we need to get you guys and both of you. We need to get you guys on an episode. I think we're going to be ready for guests in the near future. So,
All right, awesome.
but once I'm ready for guests, you guys are on my queue.
I
Oh, appreciate
appreciate it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah, I
sure,
think
man.
so. I'm gonna put it up right here so people can see the weekly debrief podcast. Let me show them right now so people can follow
Yeah, we just
you.
started this about a month ago. Well, like about 5 weeks ago,
Let me give
and
you
I
a
think we're
subscribe
doing
right
pretty good.
there. Yep.
Yeah, we're doing.
This is a podcast. You can follow that. I've been watching some of your reels that popped up on my gram and also on my YouTube. I really enjoy the conversation. Pretty insightful. And also please like and subscribe. Don't forget to share this content. You can follow Kawa. I already show all these handles. Also, you can follow us. Comment down below if you like more of this content. Please take care of yourself. Be safe. Kawa again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank
All
you.
right, and
Thank you
I
so
see
much.